Thank you, everyone, for joining us today for our webinar. I'm very pleased. I'm Bob Worsley, the CEO and founder of ZenniHome, and we're pleased today to have Luca Zambello with us today, who's the founder of an exciting new company we're going to be talking about called Jurny. It's a great software platform we're going to talk about today. And all of you know who I am from our previous webinars, but ZenniHome 3 years ago, and we're aggressively growing and aggressively raising money on WeFunder, as is Luca, I believe. And so we're excited to get started. So Luca, I'd like you to just give you a chance to introduce yourself to our audience, and let's talk about what you're doing. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me here. Like CEO and founder of Jurny. Jurny, the automation platforms, the adoption of complex technologies by unifying them into a single platform, and giving our customer access to cutting edge technologies like AI and automation.
Great. And a little bit of background about you, Luca. You're from Italy, you said?
Oh, yeah. In Italy, I moved 14 years ago now. I've been involved in hospitality a couple of years after I came here, starting by one. And then I moved here. Rental industry on. This was when at a time where Airbnb wasn't even a lot of here in LA. A lot of the rentals through brokers. First company, a landing page to find people online who are looking for homes. That business did $1.2 million in revenue a year. From there, I obviously the industry evolved pretty quickly. A lot of people understood there was an opportunity to promote something towards the Airbnb, and so we pivoted the business to a management company. That company, 3 different cities, and in the process of doing that, I wanted to model as much as I could. It's kind of like how the idea of Jurny came about, because I realized that hospitality so far behind when it comes to technology, and the technologies that were available, they are so fragmented, which are very hard to make them work with one another. So that's how we got to launch Jurny.
Well, so you've got Airbnb and VBRO and a whole bunch of people out there trying to do this in a single platform. And what you're doing is you are bringing this all together for the consumer and making it super easy for them to do business on any of those platforms.
Yeah, exactly. And then at the same time, different technologies, like many new things coming up on the market every day. Smart home technologies like smart locks, and how do you integrate those into your platform, right? And then if you're a hospitality company, dynamic pricing, not only the management of different platforms like Booking.com, Expedia, Airbnb, but also all the tools that in order to run those platforms, and also in order to run cleaning, guest communications, and we were talking about AI, which is a big component today, and how we're leveraging to actually automate a lot of this. Like if you point just this year predicted and other be spending over $355 billion in operational efficient just this year, and just in the US, right? So the market opportunity and the amount of money that's being spent to run this asset, it's humongous. Over $1 trillion if you look at it worldwide. And a lot of the technology that exists that can already streamline a lot of these operations are not really mainstream. And one of the big reasons is because fragmentation that there is in the market and how hard it is to work. Similarly, I think in real estate, in far behind. It's very similar to what you guys are doing as well.
Yeah, pick up
things and changing the way things have been done for a long time.
Yeah, people can build a pickup truck, buying material. I mean, build a house, buying a pickup truck with Home Depot materials and a skill saw and go do it. But that doesn't mean it's going to be the most cost-effective way to do it. And I think what you're saying, Luca, is these are large fragmented sectors, and there's $355 billion of operational costs just in the United States to have everybody have their own call center, have everybody do reservations, etc. And what if they could be consolidated? I guess you're kind of like Elon Musk, making the Tesla supercharger available to all the other car manufacturers now. He's gonna benefit from that scale.
Yeah, creating the infrastructure, and I think that's actually to AI that there's a lot of so overused today. We had this vision of infrastructure for when AI power enough for companies. But if you didn't build the infrastructure first, it doesn't matter.
Right.
ChatGPT is great, but to a specific case and to use that specific use case, if you haven't built the infrastructure, it really doesn't matter, and it's going to be not that helpful. Build an infrastructure, just completely the use case, and harder for an AI actually, AI like ChatGPT, than being very and focus on a infrastructure. It can be.
So let's talk about connecting to apps like Airbnb. Used to be, you get an API and work a little bit, and pretty soon you've scraped and you can talk to it. Why would someone want to come to Jurny versus Airbnb? And how will your interface, your user interface, and everything work? And will there be any latency or any issues being able to do everything they can do on the Airbnb site directly?
Yeah, I mean, it's.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
I think having is extremely, and to really develop a strong is the key here, because I think that a lot of people, Airbnb doesn't allow to integrate with them, so you still approval process. But even if you do so, it's all about integrate with them, and their API is honestly one. So it really allows you to manage almost everything you want to manage of Airbnb, but it's about the facilitate this management. For instance, we talked about right now, guest communication was one of them, like having automated, but the AI that can handle full conversation with, having a place for Q&A for specific properties or specific units, so that the AI knows what to and really put things into context. But at the same time, it's like reservation review management, extremely time consuming. Just being on top of reviews, knowing how to answer. You have to what they're talking about, because you have to really take your emotion out when you're answering reviews. And even a small operation handles hundreds of reservations per month. Just being on top of that, it's a full-time job, even for with a large operator, right? We're thousands of hours just for that. And then resolution is, and a lot of companies that have been in space until now, they have not looked there. They just looked automating the communication with automatic tools, even AI. So this is kind of an example of what you would be doing. And obviously we go also all the way to pricing management and having dynamic prices that changes based on seasonality and what time and how your occupancy and all. And that's the trick of all of that into a platform that's easy to use. Because until now, it existed, but they were so hard to make them.
Okay, so now I'm sure you've got a hockey stick going in terms of revenue because you're connecting all these things and people would rather go one place than VBRO, Airbnb, et cetera, et cetera. So how fast is your company growing and how much Airbnb business versus VBRO? How's that looking in terms of revenue?
Yeah, I mean, our strongest is with Airbnb, so majority of the business of host companies to become a hospitality platform. That is anything from hotels, but anything from hotels, there shouldn't be any reason why you need a different platform, to be honest. And a lot of the short-term rentals are trying to monetize and vice versa. So you need a platform that allows you to do both. We just launched a premium product, and so in terms of user, we 3x in 3 months. So we have now of hosts for on art because technically B2B, so hockey stick on a B2B business it's not, as you probably know as well. So
yeah, mm-hmm.
Excited, growing pretty fast, but I think more importantly, to really change how things have been, and I think the real true is going to show very soon as the AI becomes. And I think this is something that a lot AI doubles in power every 3.5 months. So we're really like the technology is improving exponentially. If you're building infrastructure, soon you're going to see things like that, right? And we're just less than a year away, I think. So that's where we're the most excited.
So in a year, you think AI can kind of drive itself and things we can't even imagine it will be doing that
in many ways
couldn't even have thought
in many
of.
ways already is, but in a year is going to be like a lot better. And if you to put things in perspective, if you take an IQ of 90 or 180 are very, very, very different. But 90 to 180 is just double, right? And if you consider probably sitting around the 90-100 number right now in terms of IQ, if you could put an IQ number for specific cases, well above that, but let's say 100. So if you were to take a year, you're going to have a very, very powerful tool.
Luca, what's one thing that's kind of surprised you that AI's taught you already?
It's right now is really as good as you can to think outside of the box to understand its true potential. So it really forces you to think outside of your normal thinking because we're so used to things being linear and things be 1 plus. But here is very much different. The box, you have to think a way of things that they have not done before. It's not regular programming. It's really about and a perfect example is like when you use the prompt, you can go and check 4 and then have a very and you're gonna very generic that it's not that good. But if you know how to work a proper prompt, your end results are gonna be sometimes shocking. Like my favorite. You ask me 15 questions so that you understand how to execute that task. And you will see the difference in the results you're going to be getting.
Wow. So how do you price your units on how do people price their units on your system? I have a pretty good portfolio of Airbnb properties personally. We have on a given night, it could be, you know, $5,000-6,000 of rental per night. So how would I use Jurny on my property?
It's super fine, but you already have an existing Airbnb account. The connections we developed a one-click connections, so you can just connect inside of your Airbnb account after you sign up with us, and all your information will be automatically imported, and it will be done basically in minutes. So super straightforward. And then tools you want to get one dynamic, utilize dynamic pricing, guest verification system, cleaning management app. Then there's some more implementation setups that you will need to do. But if you already have an Airbnb account, it's super straight. Yeah, and it's very yeah.
So you'd have everything that you have on Airbnb ported over right away. And then are you telling me that beyond the Airbnb functionality that was loaded into your system from their system, there's like how much more? Is it 25% more I can do with Jurny, or is it 100% more? Tell me what else I have that Airbnb can't do for me.
Well, Airbnb main job is being a distribution platform, and so that's what they're great at, and that's what they're focusing on. The dynamic pricing tool. Their pricing suggestions are what it's best for you, and a lot. But that's the business they're in, right? To make sure that you're priced competitively, and then Airbnb's overall. Not really meant to automate things. So you have to do all of that outside, like the different smart home devices, like we talked about, smart thermostats and automatic smart locks, where code changes automatically every time. You know, communication, guest verifications, AI communication, human management, like we talked about, and all of this that cannot be done. And on you want to connect more platforms like Booking.com and Expedia, you're going to have a whole problem of syncing this information match. But shows you all your property at a glance, and then occupant on those units. And
so does the information?
Yeah.
Does any information from your platform make its way back to Airbnb if needed?
Two-way connection, correct? Yeah. That's the whole point. Like if you messaging a guest on our, it shows up on the Airbnb platform, and then automatically, if our answering that message just shows up on the Airbnb. At that point, if the user wants to stay in Airbnb, they don't even using this automation platform. They just, in fact, it's in a way. I don't know if you're familiar with the Turing test. Person talks about it. I and we've done several times, which is pretty good. So from a guest perspective, actually, it's not, which is really cool.
So one of the big things is cleaning. One of the big things, Luca, after people leave is cleaning. Tell me how your cleaning app works. Does that, if you have a fleet of women or workers that can come in and clean after, am I connected to them and I'm kind of deploying them and getting them on it immediately? How does that work?
Yeah, so not to do and have the deepest connection, the tools that allow you to do that. So like, for instance, like for pricing, the dynamic pricing is not done by a company called Wheelhouse. but their whole solution is embedded into our system. We've been working with a company until now, but we're about to launch a new with companies called Turno, and they handle a lot of that. A marketplace for cleaners. People can on demand if they need to, or they can manage their own if they have a larger operation right there. And it creates automatic scheduling, and then you would have you can build specific checklists for all this cleaning, so you will have a very and then when that's done, you will receive a notification when our system that has been done is done based on like based on the instruction that you give, and then we also are building a rating system that is connected directly. You're connected to that specific clean property. You can have a ranking system as well built in the background.
So how do your smart home features connect? And if you could wave a magic wand, what kind of controls would you even want to work with?
Right now, we're mainly limited to smart sensors. I don't know if you have heard of smart sensors. So to make sure that you don't have neighbors or other guests next to it complaining. If the noise decibel, there's an automatic message to the guests. And then things like smoke detector. Those are connected. Plus, you have the connectivity with smart thermostats and to control off as well when guests want to use it. But they want to that from room temperature. You based on Jurny, and then the connection to digital locks. All the major brands for digital locks. There's a couple that we're not connected yet, but we will be connected soon. And yeah, so that gives you the ability. Our system has a new code for each guest. It only works for the line. And if you have multiple access, so let's say that you have a main and a final door, that works for both doors as long as they are connected to the internet, and you have IoT connection.
So one of our features that we have is being able to be off-grid. So we use Starlink for connection, but for example, this morning I looked at my utility bill last month in Mesa, Arizona, where we are. We had the hottest day in the history of the world in Mesa yesterday for our temperatures. The high was 119 and the low was in the 80s, and the average temperature was the highest in history for this area. And so if I wanted to really minimize or work off grid, I only used 10 kilowatts of power last month because we have solar, we have inverters, we have batteries. What can you do with your system that would help me live off grid?
Yeah, no, it's well, we can help with power consumption because you can have AC between guests, right? And just turn it on when you know that the guest is checking in. That definitely can help. It's not our core focus, I'll say today. And it is something that has been requested property owner because that capacity they're spending on a per unit. So yeah, we definitely have capability. I would say not our focus, but it's. But I think even to control some of these things, you have that even more automated and streamlined.
So how would multifamily buildings appeal to your user base? We have a 90.
Yeah,
We have a 90 unit building we're building, and we have a span panel out of San Francisco, which makes the breaker box all electronic. And
yeah.
there's an app to control everything on the panel. So how could our multifamily building appeal to your user base if we have 90 units in the building and we have span units in every unit? How could you help us in this particular building?
The platform was actually originally built. That's what we were operators in multifamily, from operated boutique hotels and short-term rentals in. So all the connectivity, like from the main door all the way to final door, has streamlined, especially the walk-in guests in and out, especially if you have mix between long-term and short-term. Noise monitoring system, it's have when you have multi. So the whole IoT connection is really helpful. And then this is going a little bit maybe too much in details, but there's a difference between units and units type. So if you have a single family, it's a unit, and if you're only listing on Airbnb, it really matters units. But if you start listing your as a whole, you have a lot of units that are going to be identical or very much the same. A lot of one bedrooms are going to look the same, and so you can create a single unit type for this. All the settings are the same for those properties. Occupancy can be managed better, and be distributed as hotels as well. Airbnb itself as well, it's a new thing that they're doing, but also as well on Booking.com, Expedia, you actually perform better when you're listed than a single property.
Okay, great. So if you gave an elevator pitch on Jurny, what would it say, Luca? To give you a chance here to kind of summarize your thoughts.
Really, what we are an automation platform of bringing complex technology and making them accessible to the industry as a whole. Our ultimate goal and our mission to bring automation. So that's our goal. It would be great to hear.
And you think that
also, yeah,
it is hospitality, in your opinion, lagging behind the industry? Let's just say the AI frontiers. Do you find hospitality being a little old-fashioned? You go to some hotels, like I'm in one right now, and here's my key. My wife uses her phone. Some places are still giving you a key to get in and turn it in when you're done. So do you find the hospitality industry is pretty antiquated?
very antiquated. I think behind when it comes to AI. Hospitality has been running behind for a long time. And yes, like I think that experience of checking in, wait in line, really finding any value on that check-in process whatsoever. You just want to go to your room, you check in, and still about many thousand, even like have to really wait in line for sometimes 20, 30 minutes, especially if you go to Vegas. It's like, or conferences and stuff like that is absolutely insane. But that's what people see. Transfer over to everything. They transfer over from the office management. Like a lot of people only see the front end office. There's a back end office that is massive, and all those are just as bad in the back end office. The room of improvement is massive, and I think until being forced to know. But I think what happened is that once AI is so powerful, combine it with automations, you're going to have now new operators that are going to adopt these technologies and be ahead industry, and they're going to be so much ahead of the rest of the industry that the industry is going to be forced to move forward. So we never had this breaking point, and I think we're right there. And this is what's large hotels that until now they have done. Credit here to the short-term rental industry because it's so much more ahead than the hotel industry. Like it's not. Still, there's massive improvements there, but at least the innovation is coming from there. I think that is one of the reasons why we focus on that industry to other industries.
So that's why you're predicting that AI every 3 months is going to be so doubling or whatever, that in a year you think we'll hit that magic point where maybe what Airbnb has done but never translated to hotel industry, they're so much ahead that the pain will be so great that the hospitality industry will finally have to make a step change in behavior
Absolutely.
to get current.
Yeah, exactly. And the prediction is not for university paper. This is one point. It's not that there's massive and a lot of behind that statement.
Great. Okay. Well, one of the things we're hoping to do is that I have friends, Luca, that have a villa in 8 countries, and it takes property management and cleaning, and how do you live in 8 places, right? You have a place in London, you have a place in Rome, you have a place in Paris, and New York City and San Francisco or Coronado down in San Diego. And at some point, our vision is that people will stop spending those many, many millions of dollars, and they will start to maybe put a ZenniHome in each of those areas. And when they're not there, they can actually do an Airbnb of that property. So it's paying for itself. And when you do want to be there, you just basically block out the schedule so you can be there. And you kind of know exactly what the facilities will be where you're going, and enjoy the country and why you're there, instead of having this big nightmare of property management of many, many homes, second, third, fourth, fifth homes. So how would we use, how could ZenniHome use Jurny to encourage this kind of, I have a second home or a third home or a fourth home in all my favorite places? And I can afford it because it's $150,000.
Yeah. First of all, I think because I've had in my journey in the hospitality property management, I always thought that probably the best way to monetize from this industry is actually ownership. But ownership is so expensive, so I think you're fixing a problem, different problem, but a massive problem also in the real estate vertical. And I wish a solution like yours existed already when I started working in this space, because by analyzing data and looking at data, sometimes opportunities in the markets are sometimes there's perfect time, you want to move in quick, and real estate quick. So having a solution like that, which also reduces the investment, it's amazing. And I think outside of what you said, I'm kind of opening a parenthesis, maybe a little bit of a tangent, but I think there's a massive opportunity for this industry, because for the first time, you can look at hospitality very differently. Like before, you had, opening a hotel was not a small task, but
expensive.
Airbnb can be operated, especially because of a lot of this technologies are being adopted. It can be operated profitably, even with a handful of units. Sometimes even just a single unit. Having the ability to deploy units in different locations in a price-effective way, it's a massive opportunity. Okay. And if you look at it, there's tools like one of them DNA, where you can look at emerging markets, and a lot of times emerging markets don't make a lot of money because there's not a lot. It's a great way that somebody can really look and build inventory on top of that. So I absolutely love that. And to answer your question, sorry, I went on a long answer. And to answer your question specifically, I mean, again, like our platform is extremely easy to use and can absolutely do what you talked about. So, and I think I see a big opportunity for our companies working together to create this solution for what you guys are achieving, but combining the two can become extremely.
Yeah, there's a cool company we've watched called Wander.com. I don't know if you followed them, but they're sourcing or they're buying, some of their capital's going toward buying these cliffside, beachside, really amazing scenic places, have a Tesla waiting, have, you know, Starlink for you know, so you can do a work remote in this amazing place and have all the things you would need to get around, a car and workspace, etc., broadband. And so we just think that that could be a really super cool expansion of what we do, work on some of these super cool places in the world. But all the software to make it work and make it really easy to do sounds like you could provide to us.
Absolutely, yeah, and it actually would be interesting to learn a little bit more in details, like that the production of these units is extremely scalable and quick. So I'd like to learn more, and I think the audience probably wants to learn more about that. The cost, like how quickly can those units be deployed, and what type of technologies do you include? What's your approach with smart home technology?
Well, we're trying to, Luca, we're trying to have whatever. When I was the founder of SkyMall when I was 35, we would have a meeting one day a month on the first Thursday or so, like Sharper Image, Richard Thalheimer did as well. And we would let people bring the coolest new thing, the coolest gadgets, and try to sell us on why that should be in the next catalog, the next sequence. And we want to do the same thing here where, for example, I was just in a shop, a lab, looking 2 months ago at a senior monitoring system where there were sensors that could tell you if the person's got out of bed or how long they were in the bathroom, even had a toilet that measured your temperature and your urine stream, and it could do your blood pressure. It could do a stool sample even. And so you think about all the sensors that could come in the next 5-10 years. And if those were deployed in a home, in the factory, and we had the kind of technology that you have, just imagine how, hey, somebody has fallen. Someone went in the bathroom 3 hours ago and didn't come out. Someone never got out of bed this morning. Somebody didn't open the fridge today. And I mean, these are all things that would tell you that your loved one that maybe is staying alone in a room somewhere, something's not right, and that we need to send somebody out there immediately to see what's going on. So to me, all of these kinds of technologies, senior care, obviously smart locks, Google Home, blinds that open and close automatically with time of day or direct sunlight. I mean, we're looking at all of this, including atmospheric water harvesting, so that, you know, you can get some drinking water if you're remote. We're trying to be off grid with some units.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So how do you solve sewer issues? We're the only homes, I think, in the world that are being built with gray water and black water plumbing systems in every home. So
and
your
think
shower,
about the opportunity. Yeah. Think about the opportunity of being off grid and short-term rentals. That's the ultimate aim, to be able to deploy in almost any location. That's the opportunity.
You have people. you have people that go to Amangiri in Page, Arizona, and spend 5, 6, 7,000 a night to be able to feel like they're right in this almost Martian landscape,
Yeah,
and get their mind away from everything else that's crazy in the world, and just kind of become so shocked visually and feeling wise that you're in a different world. So that's what you want. You want to be remote where there's nothing. And then how do you
that's
have a
amazing.
comfortable place that is intelligent enough that allows you to live comfortably in an off-grid location?
Walk me through, I think the, a lot of people will be interested in this, like the deployment of these units. Like what does go into it? Like how does somebody say, okay, I want to create this like destination in the middle of nowhere? What goes into it?
Well, let me show you really quick. I'll just share a screen here real quick and show you
Should have
what
done the same for the platform. Didn't think of that.
yeah, for sure. I'm just gonna scoot down here to a screen that shows, first of all, we believe that space should be multi-purpose space, but let me go to a little thing here that answers your specific question. First, we only need 9 piers in the ground, concrete piers. A crane sets the first box on those piers, second box skirts it, puts the deck down, the lid comes up out of the unit, you put your brise-soleils, you're done on the front. Solar comes on it if that's what you want. You connect utilities if in fact you're on grid. It takes a couple of days on the inside to do what we call the mate line, and anything that crosses the mate line has to be kind of adjusted, and you're done. You literally move in. So
Wow.
the idea that this could be done quickly and deployed, and imagine these are 28,000 pounds each module with furniture in them. So if you had a Huey helicopter or something, like you're moving a container, a military is moving a container or a tank or something, you could move this to the top of a mountain where there's no roads, and you could literally hike to it or put your skins on and take your skis up there, hike up in there in the snow. And this could be
That's
literally in the
amazing.
middle of nowhere off grid.
Just as a curiosity, how does and maybe it's going too much into details, but how do you manage? When I originally went to Tulum, there was a lot of these hotels were off grid, and now it's changed in just a few years. But how do you manage the electricity? Obviously, you talked about solar panels, but like and other things like that.
Well, there's pretty standard things like put a septic system in. The sewer can go into that. But the beautiful thing that we do is with black and gray water systems, we can take your shower, your dishwasher and sinks, and we can go to a gray water with a $400 or $500 Amazon filter, charcoal filter. It can go to any plants and use the water again for some other purpose on site. And then we've just been working with a German company called Busa Engineering, and they've been doing this for 20 years in Europe at campsites. They can take raw sewage, black water sewage, and with microfiltering in a bioreactor, they can get to drinkable water, which I wouldn't drink, but they can get to drinking quality water. And so we're putting those two ideas together between gray water, black water, and the Busa system. And we think we can build a home in Phoenix, Arizona, where there's not a 100-year certified water supply. And you could literally, for 98% of the time, reuse every drop of water that comes into your home. And imagine how much less water we would use in the world if we had 98% that could be reused for your plants and other things. And right now we're watering today in Phoenix, Arizona, we're watering our lawns and our plants with drinking water, which makes no
That's
sense.
amazing. Well, yeah,
So
it's
that's
amazing what you
why
guys are
we're
doing.
running out of water. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's a lot to be done there. We're big fans of Starlink. We use Starlink to get broadband remote. We're big fans of PV with batteries and inverters. Again, I used 10 kilowatts last month in Phoenix, Arizona, in the hottest month of the year. I've only used 7 kilowatt hours this month because we're on a solar system, battery, inverter, and only tag the grid when you absolutely have to.
Yeah.
So we're going to deploy all these great smart home ideas, all these cool things that are coming, including your software. We think it would be amazing to manage manage your property, open doors, close doors, manage temperatures and all that. Instead of everybody's got their little app on your phone, right? So here's the next app, and here's the security app, and here's the camera app. And wouldn't it be nice if everything was in one place and you could just manage everything from Jurny? I think it makes a ton of sense.
I think we're due for consolidation, and anybody can different solution. Just streamline, easy to use solution to have quite a bit of an advantage. And I absolutely love what you're working on, because I experienced it first time, especially the development and deployment of building of new units. It's or anything that's as far as real estate, and it feels like as a whole, not just hospitality, it's so far behind. And I think the start to innovation is just going to be all of a sudden, because there's been a lot in between solutions, but it's been up there because the advantages were not so when you come in and you really, or sometimes 10x currently exists. That's when really the jump happens and things get widely adopted. So extremely exciting times.
Well, you've got automobile manufacturers that had their own systems and wouldn't use even Apple or Microsoft, and then they slowly adopted, CarPlay and things like that. But just think of a Jurny, a wrapper that every car could use for everything, radio, everything in the car, even autonomous driving or whatever, something more like a Tesla. And then bring every car up to that standard quickly. That's kind of what you're doing here. You're allowing all these different platforms to look like one thing and be managed with AI and everything, and learn, and then be able to do that. And what we're trying to do is build homes like cars in factories, and have robotics and everything allow them to be flexible without having a certain floor plan. The space should be multi-purpose, and whatever you need it to be at the time is what the room should be. It's a master bedroom, or it's an office,
could not agree
or
more.
it's a living room. And then with technology, people can feel like, well, this is super easy living. It's not expensive living. I can travel the world with my extra dollars, and then feel very comfortable wherever I'm traveling, that I'm living in the same cocoon of technology, which is what you do for us.
Absolutely. No, definitely. It's a, and I think really the way it's been done for a long time. So what's about to come?
Luca, there's been some people asking us questions here real quick.
Yes.
So Scott said, I would like very much for Luca to address the direction of short-term rental market as a whole. I own properties in Arizona. I have very high quality properties, and occupancy is down this year versus last year. Short-term rental seemed to have peaked at the end of 2021, early 2022, and is going to absolutely be survival of the fittest going forward. And they want to hear your thoughts about the last 18 months.
Yeah. Well, so I think we need to put things in perspective, because like last year the pandemic was a black swan event, but also last year travel was a black swan event, because you had so many people not being able to travel for so long, and so what happened is that everybody started, and so you start having like off the chart numbers, and if you like AirDNA, it looked like that they grow insane percentage month, like year over year, right? But the reality is that that data was skewed by the travel boom. So, what that caused also, you have that had this travel boom. Second, because of it became so profitable last year, a lot of people came into the space, and so you had an increase in supply as well. So you're both coming at the same time. So one thing, if I can say, is you look compared to 2019 data, we're actually following a pre-normal, pre-pandemic growth trend. So it's definitely down from last year, but again, because of the data. But that being said, I think that's why people, so how can you time whatever you're doing? You said it right. Sometimes survival of the fittest happened in the pandemic was even worse. But people that really takes automations and streamlining their own operations as much as possible, those are going to be the people that are going to have a competitive advantage. Also, it really boils down to the, I know it's a bit off of a tangent of topic, but I used to like, when I built my management company, I was going after a model that's called master leasing, which is, and that's a high risk, low margin business. It's completely different. If you look at data properly, there's so many markets still, even when you don't have a great market, where profitability can be very high. And I think look at the box with homes, like that and the ability to potentially own much change the game. So you have to look ahead, where the direction going. Opportunities are always going to be there. It's not an industry that's going to go away whatsoever. It's going to keep growing, maybe growing a little bit less, and we're definitely going, but it's not. It's definitely or sure.
Are there markets though, Luca, that you feel are most at risk, and markets that are best situated to grow?
Well, urban markets specifically, where the hardest and the one that recovered the slowest, but now are the ones that are doing okay, because there's many markets that are actually up and doing great. See a lot of markets like, for example, Dallas or Austin. It's pretty strong, but then you have vacation places or like post-pandemic, but you have markets that came out of nowhere. Here in California, you have locations like Joshua Tree. Out of nowhere, it became extremely popular. Nightly rates were through the roof. You bought a home during that peak, obviously right now, or are renting a home, sub-renting a home during that peak, obviously right now, probably your numbers are not going to be at the worst time. But if you would have bought it during the pandemic, you would have made insane amount of money. And I know people that they have. So a lot of it is it's timing and looking where the numbers are today, where they be tomorrow, right? Post-pandemic, everybody wanted to be outside of the cities, away from people. But is it still? It's still going to be. Okay, it's still going. Is it going to be as strong? That's the question you have to ask yourself.
So I think you just nailed it. I think you said anything that's kind of a boutique-y place and away from the city became super hot, and those are going to slow down and get back to market reality, where things like Dallas, Austin, Phoenix, everybody knows Phoenix is lovely for 6 months and they're here for spring baseball and the Super Bowl or whatever. So that'll settle down into a nice situation going forward. So getting away after COVID is probably a bubble, and that'll settle down. And the normal routine places everybody's always gone to, Anaheim for Disneyland, whatever, it'll always probably recover and be just fine. People are
Exactly.
asking how many ZenniHomes will be produced annually. Our Page facility will probably max out at 1,000 units out of the current facility, 70,000 square feet. But we're looking to expand there to be able to do several thousand more there. And each new factory will probably be in the neighborhood of 3,000 to 5,000 units a year. So that's a lot combined that we could do nationally. There's John's asked, this is more for you, Luca. Will people create housing timeshare cooperatives with computer-based residency placements using AI? It empowers us to move around in a network. And I love this idea. We've been trying to think, Luca, of how to create a new, more elegant timeshare model because people that got into them tried to get out legally, they couldn't get out. So how do you create, maybe with your tool, computer-based residency placements using AI? How cool would it be to actually create a whole new brand of timesharing?
Yeah, and I think it can be, the cool thing is that it can be built on top of our platform. We can definitely, we have a project actually in Mexico. Can't sure yet. That's exactly what they're looking to do. Timeshare, ability to predict when is the best time not to stay at that place. So when the person is not there, actually short-term rental people are staying there and they're making money and they're making cash flow. And cash flow, timeshare for yourself, basically, or just a smaller group of people, where when you're not staying there is actually creating cash flow and it becomes an investment that you can also use. So it's definitely and I think a lot of the technology already exists, but the data already exists. Integration also we have done is with that, and that allows people to export the data as well and in real life, right? So it's like live data. So companies their own model on top of our own platform to extrapolate the data that they need for their specific use cases as well. So,
well, I like that because it sounds like what Wheelhouse does for you on dynamic pricing. Somebody will come up with maybe this new AI-driven timeshare model that can just be plugged into your platform, and everybody benefits from it immediately with this super cool cutting edge way of doing timeshares on top of an existing business model. There's one more comment here since we're right at the hour. We wanted to remind everyone that Jurny is launching publicly in 10 days on WeFunder. You're still in your private period. We've been out there for a month and a half. We certainly would love everybody to support both of our companies on WeFunder, be part of the cutting edge future. Imagine being able to be part of Jurny that's writing technology that's better than the existing people are using out there and way better than hospitality offers today, and have that cutting edge thing available for everything. And we'll be looking at this to use this in our platform. So everybody that's moving around between ZenniHomes has a seamless software wrapper around a very similar product that they are used to staying in. So anyway, thank you very much, everyone. Luca, anything to wrap up with?
no, thank you for having me. To be working together, and was a great webinar.
Thank you, Luca. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.